Good evening, Facebook and YouTube. JDev has returned once again to give you exactly what you want. And of course, you already know that would be more of me giving my thoughts, my opinions, and my award winning. And when I say award winning, I mean award winning expert analysis on a certain topic subject. With it being Sunday night, you already know it's going to be my expert analysis on tonight's episode of The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 4. The episode is called The Obliged. Just going to be giving my thoughts and opinions on the episode. And I will rate the episode on what I think it was worth rating. So before you go or before you watch the video, you should know that I'm going to spoil things. Spoil things for this week, and I'm going to spoil things for next week especially. So if you aren't caught up on The Walking Dead spoilers or any of that stuff, if you really want to be surprised when watching The Walking Dead, which all of you should know already what's going to happen, then I highly suggest that you don't watch the video so I don't spoil things for you. So, getting started, The Obliged, really good episode. I mean, it's kind of the build up to what we know is going to be next week. Spoiler alert, Rick's final episode of The Walking Dead, from what we know. And the episode was really good. One of the main focuses on the episode was Michonne talking to Negan as Negan goes on a hunger strike and refuses to eat. That way he would die. And that would be the sole purpose for them keeping him, is to keep him alive, to show everybody else that what they're doing is working. It's interesting that Negan eventually tells Michonne that he wants to see Lucille, as that's kind of like his last thing that he has to remember his wife, Lucille. You know, his wife's name was Lucille, that died of cancer with, and that's kind of how he holds on to her, is through that baseball bat with barbed wire. So that was interesting. It's an interesting take on things. Negan's trying to build a relationship with Michonne. He's got to, because we know somebody's not going to be around after next week. Spoiler alert. But the episode, of course, starts out with Michonne killing a bunch of walkers different ways with her katana, which was pretty cool. Then we also have Eugene talking to Rick about the bridge situation and how it's going to hold, how they're going to do it. And Rick's, gives him props on, what he does and all the things he does. We also have more developments with the Ann/Jadis Father Gabriel thing, where Gabriel's tied up like Negan was last season, and she lowers a walker down on him, and then what he's saying to her makes her stop and let him survive, because that walker was about to bite Gabriel, and then we would have no more Father Gabriel. And then that's the end of that. Well, she eventually leaves. From what we're led to believe, she leaves, potentially on that stupid fucking helicopter that keeps showing up. I don't think that's going to be the end of the Jadis, but we shall see. So that was interesting. I don't like Ann/Jadis' character. I haven't liked her since she debuted on the show. She's annoying, and I wish they would get rid of her. I really do. You like her? I don't. I don't like hardly anybody on the show, though, but that's my opinion anyway. Also, we have, of course, the developments with Maggie saying she's going to go to Alexandria, grabs a crowbar. She wants to talk to Negan. Apparently, she might do Negan some harm, it sounds like. So that's that. So Rick gets word of that, and he's going to go to Alexandria to try to stop her or talk some sense into her. Daryl finds out, so Daryl's like, let me give you a lift. Of course, Daryl has no intentions of taking him to Alexandria, as Daryl's on Team Maggie. I misspeak sometimes. It happens. So Daryl has Rick hop on his bike, and they go off. And of course, Daryl doesn't turn to go where Alexandria is. He keeps going straight. So Rick gets pissed off and demands to stop. And then Daryl does, and then he's like, "This isn't happening. Da 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 da. Your way isn't working. The Oceanside's killing the Saviors, and they deserved it. Everything they deserved." They eventually start wrestling around, and then they both roll into a pit. And then while they're in the pit talking, they start to hear gunshots, because at the campsite where the most of the Saviors are helping building that bridge, Jed has a gun and tells Carol to surrender. Carol eventually does put the gun down. Then Jed thinks everything's okay. He called Carol weak or something like that. And then she kicks him, and that's when you hear the gunshots with them panning in on Daryl and Rick. So we don't know what's happening there, other than the fact that Carol just kicked him, and then who knows what's happening. We might have some character deaths out of that. Maybe some of our favorite characters, who knows. So then Rick and Daryl decide to be buddies again, and Daryl gives Rick a lift so he can grab a vine that's sticking out of the pit or whatever it is. And as he's doing that, Rick starts to climb up the pit. Then walkers start falling into the pit and rolling down, and Daryl, of course, being the one that's down there, starts killing some of them, and then he decides to put them on top of each other and make a little step ladder with walkers. I think that was kind of funny. I don't know. For some reason, I found that highly amusing, that the fact that Daryl was using them as a step ladder. So they eventually get out of the pit, and they, of course, hear the gunshots still, and then Rick wants to detour the walkers, and Daryl's like, we got to take them to the bridge, and Rick's like, no, we can't lose the bridge, we need it. So they go their separate ways. Stay safe was said, I believe. Rick gets on a horse and leads the walkers to the bridge, which I thought that's not where he was going, but I think he wanted to turn, and as he was turning, there's another herd of walkers coming from that direction. So then the horse starts freaking out, bucks, and then Rick falls on a concrete block, or concrete rock, or whatever, concrete, a thing of concrete, with some rebars sticking out of it, and those go right through him. So Rick is in a very compromising position, and obviously we know that next week is Rick's final episode, so it's not gonna end well for Rick. We don't know how it's gonna happen, if that's gonna be the end of it. I have a feeling that Rick's gonna get out of that somehow, some way, and I do have a feeling that people are gonna show up and try to save him, like Daryl, Carol, maybe Maggie, although I'm not sure if Maggie's even around that area, because she was on her way to Alexandria, but who knows. So that should be interesting. But yeah, I mean, next week's episode, that's it. I believe the episode is titled What Happens Next. We're going to see some familiar faces. I almost positive next week we'll see John Bernthal. 99.9% chance we will see Shane next week. He's going to be in one of these episodes this season. It wouldn't make any sense to have him in scenes with anybody other than Rick. So next week's Rick's final episode, so that makes sense. And the fact that they showed like footage from season 1, but I think it's new footage of like him and like somebody sitting in a car next to Rick in the sheriff's car. It's got to be Shane, right? So that'll be interesting. It should be a really good episode, obviously. Hopefully it's super memorable. And there's also, confirmed, or it's been confirmed, that Scott Wilson, rest in peace, Scott Wilson, Herschel, and Sonequa Martin Green, Sasha, have filmed footage for season 9 of The Walking Dead. So maybe they'll show up, or show up next week. It'd be great if Herschel and Rick had one last scene, and Herschel tells Rick, if you take a drink of water, you risk your life. The quote he said from season 4, episode 5, Internment. Yes, I remember that. It's one of my favorite quotes in The Walking Dead, the whole risk your life speech. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to YouTube, type Herschel Walking Dead risk your life speech, and you can hear the dialogue that Herschel tells Maggie, I believe. And then another thing with Shane coming back next week, if any of you are familiar with Screen Junkies Honest Trailers, if you haven't seen The Walking Dead Honest Trailers for season 1 through 3 and then seasons 4 through 6, I highly suggest that you view them, as they're hilarious, and there's some funny things with Shane and Dale and Lori that if you haven't seen the Honest Trailer for The Walking Dead yet, check out the first one at least. The second one's okay, but it's not as funny in my opinion, because the characters just aren't as memorable from seasons 3 through 6 as they were 1 through 3. So yeah, that's kind of the episode, really. I mean, Rick is in some trouble on that concrete block with those rebars sticking out of him. If I had to score the episode, I gave last week's episode a 9.2. This one was really good, though. It's obviously leading up to something bigger. I would give it a 9.4. I thought it was really good. It's this season. It's a lot more suspenseful. The walkers are much more like prominent in the show, and I think it's great. Angela King's doing a great job. It's unfortunate that this is going to be the last episode for Rick next week, so I think the show is definitely going in the right direction. Of course, we know what's coming next. The Whispers. Oh, if you don't know who the Whispers are, you're in for a real treat. You think the walkers are, creepy right now. Wait till you see the Whispers. So anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're on YouTube watching this video, if you could give it a thumb up, that would be great. And if you want to give it a thumb down, I'm okay with that. Doesn't bother me any bit. You're entitled to your own opinion. Of course, if you're watching this video through Facebook, if you like it, if you could love it, if you could ha-ha it, if you could, well, if you want to sad face it, I guess, if you want to anger it, I guess, that'd just be appreciated. And of course, if you really want to get into it, if you want to comment, Ask questions. I can do a Q&A. Well, I can certainly do that. Definitely give me all your questions that you have, especially with next week's episode. I definitely want to get a Q&A video going here. So if you want to give me a question about what you think or what I think is going to happen about the episode that I haven't answered yet, or things that you think is going to happen in The Walking Dead, please go ahead and write a comment in the comment section on YouTube or on Facebook. And I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of The Walking Dead. Again, titled Obliged. And be ready for next week, as it's going to be Rick Grimes' final episode. Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you soon. Later.